Hi, Anika. Am I audible? Kunal? You know, my heart's racing. Literally racing now. Can you hear me? Yes. Thank God. Now waiting for Sabah to join. One last time we are trying this. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, then some other day. Life moves on. Yes. Where are the people? People are, I think, joining in. Cool. Hi. Okay. Sabah, one last time, fingers crossed. Hi, yes. Sabah, I accepted your request. I can see you.
Tanya, can you hear me?
I can.
I
I
feel like
can.
crying. Honestly, I feel like I'm gonna
Finally.
cry.
Finally. We made it. We
Oh my
made it. My
gosh.
God. My God. How do I tell people, all those who have gone, were so excited like an
I
hour
know.
back? How do
I
I
know.
tell
I
them that
feel
yes,
so
we could
bad
make it?
because there were so many people waiting, and hopefully people will still join in. But I just want to apologize from the bottom of my heart. This has been so ridiculously frustrating.
Yes, but I think we made it. Where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
right. So I think without much ado, let's just get into the conversation that we both have been dying to do for a long time, right? I mean, we've been exchanging
Yes.
emails for quite a long time. Um, this was, I completed this. I think the first 50 pages I took about 4 days because I was, a little caught up. But the rest 250 pages in 2 days flat. I could not keep it down. I wanted to know what Rania was up to. And when halfway through the book I got to know her name, I was like, oh my God, this is the girl I'm reading about. That's what literature does to you. That's what a good book does to you. So, yes, Atre, and thank you. She's a very good friend, and she's been, calling me, motivating me, and telling me, "Ye kar, ye mat kar," and it'll work out,
Yes,
right?
I've been watching her messages and I'm filled with so much gratitude for that kind of loyalty. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So, um, quick introduction about Sabah. She born in Pakistan, living in Abu Dhabi. Uh, this is the debut novel, and oh, what a bold novel! The one word which kind of distinguishes it is too bold in this political scenario as well. So Sabah, I mean, let's go ahead. I'll omit a lot of things that I thought I'll speak about, but we'll talk all about it during as we go ahead, right? But weren't you scared writing? This is so bold. We'll run through the themes, right?
Yeah.
But didn't it hit you that what am I writing? Will it backfire? Will people
Yeah.
take it in the right spirit? How could you be so bold?
No, thank you, Tanya. And the messages we exchange. Thank you to everybody who's on right now and just for your patience and to Kunal for putting this together as well. But Tanya, thanks for those words because I think as a storyteller, when you're putting something like this out in the world, your song, you're in a very vulnerable space. But I want to really get to your question. I think the nervousness and the fear of writing about women's sexuality, of writing about gay rights, of writing about religious hypocrisy, someone who runs a madrasa by day and is part of a prostitution den by night, those are obviously things that make you very nervous. And I think that was a constant state of mind for me, for sure, the whole time through, And in a country like Pakistan, backlash can take so many forms. It can be a ban on the book, it can be your family, your safety, all of that stuff. I'll give you a small example, Tanya. जब किताब publish हुई थी, one of the first reactions I got on Instagram was, you need to pull this down because the cover you just showed, they said that the way the title is written, Skyfall का जो नाम लिखा है, somebody said it's Allah written backwards or something like that, and it's
Okay.
blasphemous. So how could you have it there? And so, right from that point onwards, I was like, oh my gosh, and here we're talking about prostitution and all these other things. you know, and you don't know what can provoke someone. It can be red lipstick, it can be a burqa, like you have no idea where that ranges from. But then I said to myself, you know, my day job is not writing novels. I work at NYU, I teach there. And I thought, if I have to write 300 pages, I really want to write about something that bothers me. And I want to be able to, you know, kind of be sincere to that attempt. Otherwise, there's just no point doing it, you know. Or a chicken and egg kind of situation ho jata hai that, do I wait for Pakistani society and Indian society to be so evolved where they are ready for this? Or do I hope I write about it and that changes people's mindsets? And I went for the latter. I said, you know, and I have to say this last thing, Tanya, people's appetite and a reader's readiness will amaze you. I got reactions from people in Kerala, people in Hyderabad, people outside of large towns, you know, remote villages, who were reading and willing to engage with the material. And hum samajhte nahi, an elite, powerful woman will be that typical Western prototype. So I feel we underestimate our audience as well. So nervousness, I will not trivialize, and I will not deny that I was very nervous, but I felt like I want to punctuate some of those divides with my writing. So here we are.
And I'm glad here we are, you know. I mean, I can give you one reaction from New Delhi right now is I was, number one, intrigued. Number two, I was like, really? Is it really what I'm reading is really written so boldly? I mean, you've spoken about lesbianism, right? Something which is prohibited to even talk about. Forget, you know, people indulging or having that inclination. You have spoken about the right to freedom. I mean, like I wrote to you, you know, somebody living in New Delhi, I can't even imagine a life without freedom because I'm so used to it. I don't know what it means to not have that freedom. I mean, even if 1 minute of my life is without freedom, it's not acceptable. And here we're talking about women. Their basic right of freedom is not given to them. Why? Because they live in a patriarchal society, right? I mean, the character, people, I mean, we're just dealing and talking about the characters, but we're talking about the themes out here, right? The 4 prominent themes that run in the story: patriarchy, love, right to freedom, right? And most important, you know, women rights. Even, I mean, you've not written a novel which is based in 1980s. It is in 2019, 20. It is the novel of As on Date. Even as on date, women have to write, women have to fight for their freedom. I mean, my God, is it really that sad? Is it really that sad about the plot and everything in the country that you've written about?
Yeah. You know, Tanya, I think you bring up such a good point because you and I are in very similar situations in that we have a certain amount of privilege, whether we admit this or not, and we are admitting it publicly, right? And Rania is not a girl in a prostitution den. For those of your followers right now, you know, Hira Mandi is Lahore's most famous red light district, as a lot of people know. And she's in a neighborhood that's very different from Tanya and Saba's neighborhood, you know. But the reality is that you and I don't represent 80% of India and Pakistan. I definitely don't represent most of the women in my country, you know, and I feel there's reality to that story, and you know, there is pain and there's pathos. But you know, the important thing I want to highlight, Tanya, that it's dark and it's dreary and that there's despair. But these are women, and I'll tell you, the nights and days I spent on the streets of Old Lahore is where I did my research, so to speak, for the book back in the day. And I went in with a stereotype thinking, ye auratein, like they're sex workers. What mind will they have? What agency will they have? You know, you dumb down these women. So whilst there's oppression and there's exploitation and it's a bloody sad state of affairs, you realize they are empowered in their own ways. They have desires, they have dreams, but those may not mirror yours and mine, and those may not mirror that of an activist sitting in New York. And with the book, you know, I all the time before this, I used to say, oh लोग पाकिस्तान इंडिया के बारे में गोरे लिखते हैं. Like, it was so frustrating because they exoticize it, they put you in these cut up dolls and these cookie cutter approaches. And I thought, okay, only English. Sorry, I was cutting into Urdu. But I kind of thought, I want to show audiences, I want to take them backstage and show them the Pakistani woman is not these two polemic extremes of she's not so black and white. She's not either veiled and oppressed, the ninja with the burqa, as she's called, nor is she just fast and vile. There is a middle ground where she's flawed, she's vulnerable, she's chaotic, and she's bold in a way that people don't recognize boldness. She's not standing on a rooftop with a placard protesting or burning her bra and saying, oh, I'm a feminist. But she's quietly fierce, and I think she's equally compelling. And I kind of wanted to show there is a strength to being brown and beautiful. I think that was the point. So it's not to take away that affairs are very sad. Patriarchy is rampant, but there is a foil to it as well, if that makes sense.
Coming to that, let's talk about Jahan-e-Ruvi, the one who gives birth, to Rania, who is the real troublemaker, right? And she just doesn't have a Rania, she has an Ujla too, right? Who's a different offspring. Here's another different offspring, right? And when in the beginning, she declares that Rania will cross the bridge, and she crosses the 7 seas. I mean, everybody who's listening to us, these are the things that stay with you. It's been a week that I've finished this novel, but these are the things that have stayed with me, When a mother prophesizes for her daughter that my daughter will be the troublemaker. My daughter will not be the sex worker. My daughter will go across this, this Hira Mandi. It's just, they are situated in 5 kilometers area here. If one day we are at home, it's so claustrophobic. And their whole life is in that periphery.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
For them, there is a bridge that takes them outside their local area. And that's also so difficult to cross. Yeah. That's what their circumstances are.
Yes.
Right? So it's like, again, coming back, even in the 21st century, it happens. Wherein we're talking about reaching the moon and Mars. Here, reaching for your dreams is so vulnerable. It's so impossible for most of the women. Rania, the protagonist, could reach her dreams because she had an Asher behind her. Which brings me to another theme so prominent, which is love. The love for singing, the love for living, the love for each other. So love hovers from Lahore to New Delhi and then culminates in New York, right? What's your idea of love?
Yeah, Tanya, I'm so glad that you asked that, because I feel the book takes you through a lot of beats of darkness, and that there's morbidity and there's all of that, But in the end, you realize that I've described it like this before, so people who've heard me speak before will know this. In one single sentence, an elevator pitch for Skyfall is, I see it as a Sufi love song. That's the spirit and that's the soul of the book, very much, at the end of the day. And my idea of love, the closest analogy I can draw, Tanya, is to music, which again has a universal language. Whether you speak Urdu, Hindi, Persian, English, French, whatever that might be. And the reason I say music is that you think of a Nusrat Fateh Ali song, you think of a Faiz Ahmed Faiz ghazal. It's full of chaos and complexity, and there's this orchestra of conflicting voices going on. And yet you can take from it in the end the simplicity of a folk song. And to me, that is love. I don't want to shy away from saying love comes with all the politics and all the chaos and all the complexity. So there's no shortcut and it's not an easy route. But at the end, it's something just as harmonious, which is moving the universe forward, And to me personally, Tanya, I see love as an emotion that has transcendental power. And that is what I have shown in the book, that Rania and Asher are Hindu and Muslim, Indian and Pakistani. And it was Bapsi Sidhwa who back in the day gave me this idea and said, Sabah, if you ever write a book, think about doing the India-Pakistan theme in a fresh way, in a way where the Indian doesn't end up being the spy and the Pakistani doesn't end up being the terrorist. And where Asher and Rania don't need to bring proof of their love in a handbasket. Here, I love you. You know, it's a feeling. And that's just pretty much what it is. And I think at a time where we have so much hate, as Bloomsbury described the book, it's about love in a time of hate, you know, where you're othering and marginalizing and people are moving into their ideological woods. I'm purer than you, I'm superior than you. The idea behind this love story was just an invitation to readers to imagine a better world. A world where you can have coexistence, where India and Pakistan, on a people to people basis, can be so much more than just the border politics that we get consumed with. And you know, Tanya, to me, love is this conversation I'm having with you right now across borders, across flags, across religions, across politics. The fact that, you know, we've written this out and have actually made the call happen. That is love to me, to be honest.
True. I mean, after 45 minutes of hard work, we didn't give up. That's what love is, right? And if you even look at Rania and Asher, it's not your modern day love story. It is not. You don't have to say anything. It's again, you know, going back to the 80s, you know, where you could still think that purity in love, you know, love with words, with less words, love with love, unadulterated love. You know, I mean, the kind of love we all say that we want, but I think in our today modern world, seldom see, but good to read about it, you know, wherein, like you said, Muslim girl, Hindu boy, Lahore, New Delhi, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And they push each other. I mean, if you look at it, Rania,
yes,
because there was an Asher behind her. If he wasn't there, forget the 7 C's, even 7 steps were tough for her. She wanted to give up.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, I mean, people read all this in the book. I mean, whatever I mean, seriously, I just read, you know, Kritika also said, new series, Dhoop Ki Diwar, India-Pakistan theme. Okay, great. I'm going to have a look at it. Acha ji. Okay, ji, right? So it's, you know, I mean, you will, patriarchy, for example, we've spoken so much about it, you know, and I'll also, you know, before I move ahead, the book starts with the main man who represents the epitome of patriarchy, Sherji.
Yeah.
You know, when Rania is born and he says, oh, what a misfortune handed to me,
Yes.
because there was a girl child in the family. So even in the year 2019, a girl child is seen, you know, something as someone who's not welcomed, somebody who's again a misfortune, you know. So if today a girl child is a misfortune, it's really a misfortune.
Yes. Yes.
But then you've depicted the society as it is. You know, I mean, uncolored. If it's gray, it's gray. If it's black, it's black. It's white, it's white. And you've dared to, you know, show it that way.
Yeah.
So which again, you know, is something, you know, that makes you think when you read, right? So people, I mean, if you are fans of reading, pick Skyfall by Sabah Karim Khan. It's easily available online at bookstores near you. This book is, you know, like really people, and especially literature students and people who love to read serious stuff, meaningful stuff, please pick it up. It's not your run-of-the-mills book. It's not a romantic love story wherein, you know, the trees will be scrunching and the songs will be playing. Everything in this book has a deeper meaning attached to it, right? So how could you get so much of Sufism into it? I mean, is it because of your background, research, amalgamation of a lot of factors? But how, you know, I mean, like, for example, if I think of writing, Sufism doesn't come to me naturally, right? But then I mean, in the book, you've written so many songs. You've taken my home country's songs, you know, I've read it and I'm like, ye to mere Bollywood ke gaane, you know? So it's so nice to read, right? And Rania in Lahore is singing those numbers.
Bilkul,
and then you've done the
yes.
English translation as well. And sometimes I think it's pure Sufi. Then you've done the Hindi translation. Then you've done the English translation as well, so that everybody can understand. So does Sufism come naturally to you? This one is the book. Do a giveaway on your page, Tanya. I'll try. I'll
For
try.
sure. Yeah. We'll talk about that, Tanya. That can
Yeah.
happen.
Dr. Adil Ansari, this is the book, Skyfall. We're discussing Skyfall by Sabah Karim Khan. And it's my privilege to be in a talk with her right now. It's what, 11:07 India time. And we are loving the conversation. Please be with us. And yes, please tell us about anything you'd like us to discuss. Anything, wherein you think it's something which is a little taboo of a topic and people don't discuss, but literature is an open space. Books are an open space because your imagination also supersedes a lot of other things. We'll be happy to take those questions. Sabah ma'am, do recommend some of your favorite books, please, if you can, ma'am.
Sure, I will.
She's another book, I think, Kitabi Kida, another book lover.
Ah, I see. Yeah. You know, Tanya, I'm going to start where you left off, and I just want to first talk about this word that you used about misfortune. You know, we see it in so much of Indian cinema, we see it in Pakistani dramas, we see it everywhere, that when a girl is born, it is a misfortune, unfortunately, and this sounds dramatic, but in many homes in Pakistan, she's lucky to be alive. And you can't take that for granted, right? I want to start from right within my home, Tanya, because I don't want to be that hypocrite who's going to say, oh, no, it's not people like me and Tanya who think like this. It's the woman who works in my mother's house who thinks like this. You know, I have two tiny daughters who are 4 and 5. And the reason why I want to start the conversation from my house is that when my second daughter was born, I actually got people, when I was pregnant, people would ask me, is it a girl or a boy? Have you found out? And I would say, oh, we're having a girl. And at the second daughter, Tanya, I had a range of reactions. There would be people condoling. There would be people disappointed. And I'm talking to you about people at a place like in Abu Dhabi, educated, affluent. There's people who will pity you, who will feel bad for you, you know. So right from strangers to relatives. I was recently on a flight and the air hostess said to my daughters, when is your brother arriving? You know, and I just thought people have said to me, you need a son. When are you going to try for a son? And I don't even understand what you mean by you need a boy. What the heck does that even mean? So whilst Sherji is a very despicable character, he's also, it's like holding up a mirror to India and Pakistan and saying, this is how a lot of people think. And this is how mothers-in-law think. This is how husbands think. It's a range of people, you know. And you feel like people will give you the sense, you're unfortunate that you didn't get a boy. You know, and your negotiating power in a marriage is less if you're not the mother to a son, you know. But what I find extremely sad, Tanya, is that we love to quickly bash men. This whole Me Too thing also, it's become like, you know, this thing about, oh, if you're a feminist, you're going to hate men and all men are vile. And I struggle to see balanced voices. What I find sad is, in fact, a lot of women are perpetuating this idea and this fetish for sons. So, you know, I mean, it's not something that just men are doing. I've personally now tried to put myself on, you know, you asked about spirituality, and that's fed into the book. Music has fed into the book, Tanya, because against all the divisions of religion, caste, whose plate can I eat from, who can I marry, who can I befriend, amidst all of that, I was looking for something that brings the whole universe together, and I thought music is one such powerful weapon, you know, where it transcends languages and geographies, and it becomes a bat to kind of disrupt fences. And I said, all right, you know, and I've picked up some of I remember I was looking online and there was this beautiful evening where Javed Akhtar was doing an evening with Tina Sani. Tina Sani had gone from Pakistan to sing, and she sang Panchi Nadiya Hawa Ke Jhoke from Border, you know, from the film Border. And that's why I put that into the book, because I realized, you know, that line where it says, you know, something like humne kya paya insaan hoke, and that's true. Like, what did we achieve by being human? So that's, I think, where the Sufism and the spirituality part comes in. And it's something that I've really started putting myself on this path as well, to say it's not easy. As human beings, it's not easy to be thick-skinned. If somebody says something to me, it matters. validation matters. But after I gave birth to both the girls, Tanya, I've tried to put myself on this more Sufi journey to say, I need to come into a place of contentment and zen within, because no one else can give me that comfort in my skin. And of course, it's not an easy journey. It's not something I've mastered. I struggle with it every day. But that's somewhere where the texture of the book is such.
No, I agree to it. And I've heard stories about it sitting in New Delhi as well. You know, wherein you've got one daughter and the second daughter, you know, I mean, if you come to know that you're going to, you know, have another daughter, in abortions that have taken place, I mean, and all sorts of things have taken place, right? And still having a second daughter, you know, I mean, somewhere I get it, you know, that the family gets completed if you have a boy and a girl. I mean, I get the logic, but having two boys is as graceful as having two daughters. You know, I mean, everything is welcomed as long as there's love and harmony. You know, with
Sure.
families splitting up, everything happening in front of your eyes. I mean, why do you have offspring? The whole idea is love. And today,
Absolutely.
if you look at it, the way things are, I think a lot of people are progressive, and I hope things change, you know, but it's still sad to see a lot of things happening around, you know, which are not in the right flavor, right? Okay, so on a quiet evening in Kashmir, Asher asks Rania, what's your song? And in the end, she tells him her song, The Beautiful Skyfall. What's your song?
You know, Tanya, I think it is two things. You know, and again, I think over life, your songs can change and there can be more than one song. I put that quote into the book because I heard it one winter morning at NYU. We had invited a guest speaker to talk to the students, and he was talking about mindfulness and being in the moment. Sir Anthony Seldon was his name. He's the headmaster of a school in the UK, and he's talking to the students, and he said, most men and women lead lives of quiet desperation and go to the grave with the song still in them. And he said, take 5 minutes and scribble your song on a piece of paper. It's not his quote. Sir Henry David Thoreau said this, a different version of it. And it got me thinking, what is my song? You know, life passes you by. Every day you're feeling like a cog in the wheel. But, you know, as a middle class person, as someone who grew up in a middle class household, I have that middle class insecurity. I want that check at the end of the month. But when he said this, I kind of stopped in my tracks, Tanya, and I thought, I can't spend my whole life without unearthing my song, because my song will give me wings. And I'm not an idealist like that. I want my check. So I want financial security. And I've seen times where, you know, I've seen that struggle. So I don't want my kids to go through that. But I realized your song is not incompatible with a job and with financially being lucrative and secure. My songs, I think, are twofold, Tanya. My first song, I think, is Mothering. And the reason why I say that is that after I had the two girls, I realized, you know, today we're kind of in this rat race. We're on this treadmill. What are the grades? What are the schools? And I see so many moms trying to use their children like accessories.
Yeah.
And one of my songs, I've only just started, and my girls are very small, but one of my songs is to say, I hope I can raise young girls who are kind and empathetic, and that I don't use my daughters like a Louis Vuitton bag to say, oh, they got into this school and they've gotten A stars. Of course, that'll make me happy, but for them to be kind, beautiful human beings, what happened to that? I always saw our parents investing in us for that. So that's one of my songs. And the other song, Tanya, is storytelling across documentaries and films and books and, you know, journalistic pieces. It's just sitting around a campfire and telling stories, being on this live with you and connecting, you know, that human connection. I just feel somewhere if I can weave in my mothering along with my storytelling, then those are my songs. And I really, really hope that, you know, that orchestra can make some kind of beautiful music. I think that's really my song.
I'm sure. So beautiful to hear that. So beautiful to hear that, right? When do we get to see your next novel?
I'm just gonna breathe for a second. Yes, Kunal, to answer your question, he's he's the same Sir Anthony Seldon, absolutely. Tanya, I'm currently directing an online series on Me Too in South Asia, and it's based on interviews with young girls who are college students survivors of sexual harassment. And that releases in November. They're students from India, Pakistan, Nepal, and these are girls who've gone through various experiences of abuse and harassment and sexual terrorism in a sense. And I'm very excited about that because just witnessing that kind of courage, I don't know if I have it to sit and talk publicly about when I got harassed, but to hear them try and reclaim, it's a project of reclamation, really. And that is my next visual storytelling song, Tanya. Hopefully you see it in November, inshallah. And it's important to me because, again, with something like Me Too, sometimes I think about what's happening in my country, what's happening in this region with feminism. And it's important to talk about that because I feel it's become very polarized. I see a lot of social media smokescreen. I see a lot of liberal women frothing at the mouth. There's a whole brigade doing that. And then, of course, there's this narrative of oppression and exploitation, which is very, very true. Pakistan is labeled as the sixth most dangerous place for women. And I just hope my next song can show us a little bit of the middle ground and say, where are the balanced voices of reason that are not just talking about this online, which is important, but also actioning it and trying to bring about change? Because for me, Me Too is not about taking it from America and copy pasting it in Pakistan. It's about adapting it to a local vernacular and to a local language where the woman who helps my mother in her house should have the courage to eventually speak up. And she'll need a different set of tools, Tanya, because she doesn't come from your and my background. She can't just suddenly be at a protest or, be screaming from a rooftop. And that's why even in the book, I've just tried to say power and a strong woman does not need to be perfect and does not need to be shrill and loud. I just want to show that things and people can be broken yet beautiful. And there's power and strength in that. And Asher is symbolic of that. And Rania is symbolic of that. And, Pakistan is just a very angry, pessimistic nation right now when it comes to the women's movement. And I just hope that with this Me Too series and even with the book, I don't know if pity and pessimism are constructive emotions, Tanya. I don't know if they allow you to shift the fabric of society. I believe in a feminist movement that invites men to join our ranks, that is about allyship, and that is not plastering every other man with that same brush. So, that's my next song, and I hope it's something that you love, and I can't wait for you to watch it.
Totally. Where will we be able to see it? Any OTT platform or?
Yes, I hope it's going to be on an OTT platform in November, and details to follow, which is finalizing that. But yes, you'll definitely be able to watch it on a digital platform. Definitely in India, but across the world.
No, look forward, because these are the real stories, real grounds, real women, women for whom making a living is as important as breathing, and then the tortures they've been through. And it's not easy, like you rightly said, it's not easy to come and tell your story because that story is totally flawed. And then one has to work with them. I've seen and I've also, kind of tried working with women. It's very hard to, make anyone come to terms with reality. Look at us, hamari choti choti problems, and we're like, oh God, what has happened to us? Why is this happening to me? Their problems, if you look at their problems, our problems are not even the size of a needle, right? And somewhere these stories give us strength, right? So really, look forward to that, and maybe we can get on to another talk, when that comes,
I would love that. I would, Tanya, with your own background, like I was like, oh my gosh. And when the live wasn't happening, I was like, I am dying to talk to this woman.
I'm glad we could finally make it. We were trying to put it for tomorrow or some other day, but we made it at what we're at 11:22 IST, and it's still good. we guys are all late sleepers. I mean, COVID has changed our patterns. Everyone's work from home, so there's no hurry, to get up in the morning and be on the road. I mean, you just need 2 minutes to reach your workstation, which is basically your study table. So that's amazing, right? Kritika says, Sabah, that misfortune to misfortune, we girls of India and Pakistan have come a long way. I totally agree. There were a few questions, though I missed most of them, but I remember there was one asked that what are the challenges for an author in this digital world? So would you like to take that?
Sorry, could you repeat that? I missed that, Tanya.
What are the challenges for an author in this digital world, since it's no longer a physical world? So what are the challenges, right? And before we get to that, Dr. Adit Ansari commented that I have twins, girl and boy, and I find both of them same. We'll teach them both about the importance of housework, career, and education. That's amazing. That's amazing, right?
Thank you, Dr. Adil, for actually saying that, because it is so reassuring. Like Tanya's been saying throughout this chat, it's 2021 and we think, oh, who thinks like this anymore? And yet, as a mother of 2 daughters, when I hear that from someone who has a different combination, and I hate to make this about men and women, but when I hear it from Dr. Adil, I'm like, how hopeful does that make me that a man is saying that? And Tanya, if you don't mind, I think he's just left one other comment which I really want to take, because it's right at the heart of this conversation that you don't mind if I take that, right?
Please go ahead.
He said media should also show women with ambitions, women as entrepreneurs, successful careers. And I just want to pause there and say, absolutely. We think about women's desires and women's ambition as some kind of ruin, as some kind of threat. And I feel my own home country is really guilty of this, that everything's a sensational ticker about the oppressed woman getting killed for honor, which happens. But where's the 2.0 Pakistani woman, the TikTok star, the amazing homemaker, the professional stalwart? Where are those stories? So fear and hate sells. And I just think what Dr. Adil has said is bang on, because media has a big role in shaping those narratives. And, that's why even with Skyfall, I'm like, with fiction, I want to say, the Pakistani woman is not this caricature that you hear of in New York. She's a little different to that. So thank you for that comment, Dr. Adil. It's very close to my heart.
I think, we women are same at the end of the day, whether I'm in India or someone's in Pakistan or you're in UAE. The core fabric or the essence remains the same. It still pains. The same things pain and the same things elate us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And I think Kunal asked something about the script, Tanya. I'll just try to scroll back up.
He asked that how easy or difficult was it to pitch your script to Bloomsbury?
Right. Thanks for that question, Kunal. And I think it's an important one because, I want to highlight to Tanya's followers that I don't come from an MFA background or a background in creative writing or something like that. And I just have to give so much credit to India here to say that despite everything that's happening in the current climate everywhere, they are open to writing from different parts of the world. For me, Kunal, I got a literary agent, and I pitched the book first to him. And then we went through lots and lots of rounds of editing, had fantastic kind of just, distilled from the book, like leaned it out and all of that. And then he pitched it to a host of people, and we picked Bloomsbury's offer in the end. We felt it was a really good fit, and the fact that they've backed this kind of narrative, Tanya, that you've been talking about, bold for even these times, and that sort of thing, and not feared backlash or not feared the fact that, oh, she's a Pakistani author, what's going to happen? Does this impact sales? Does this happen? I've got Prerna Vora, who's my editor at Bloomsbury, and just such an ally. A wonderful, powerful woman who believes in the power of storytelling, whether you're sitting around a campfire or whether we're sitting here or whether I'm writing a book. So, the process, to answer Kunal's question, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Of course, there are trials and tribulations. I think my biggest takeaway from it was, you have to keep writing, which I know is an obvious thing to say, but editing. Your first draft looks so different from the final draft. And that is really pitch it at a point where you feel this is worthy of something. 300 pages obviously takes time to write, fold, unfold. But I've had a lot of support from India, and I have to acknowledge that, both from the publisher, agent, also from the audience, Tanya. You know, I was on this fantastic Mithibai College workshop in Mumbai as part of the book public publicity. And there were these amazing women from all over India who were so invested in that workshop. And that is strength and beauty to me, and it really gives me hope.
I understand. I understand. I mean, nothing beats motivation coming from any corner, and especially
Bilkul.
coming from surprising corners. You know, wherein you least
Yes.
expect it. Yeah. Right. Okay, but in all, how much time did it take for you to, do the whole books? I mean, for somebody who may want to write, like a start to
Yes.
finish, how much time editing, re-editing?
Yeah. You know, Tanya, it took me from start to the day the book got onto a shelf, it took me 5 years. And the reason why, but I think it's important to clarify that I don't write as part of my day job at NYU. So, you know, I'm in the social sciences, I'm in social research and public policy, which is a little different from creative writing. So for me to make those windows, and then obviously with two very small daughters and giving birth in that time, so I guess it could take someone lesser time, but also every day is not a good writing day. You know, so you have moments where you have to be honest about that, and no 2 days are the same. But it took me 5 years in total.
It took you 5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Atra is eyeing a book, but she's wanting a signed copy. I don't know how's that possible. But
Sorry, who wants a signed copy, Tanya?
as in signed by you, somehow signed by you.
Yeah, sure. I would be happy to make that happen. I mean, this is such an enjoyable conversation. I would love to do that for anyone listening in.
Right. Anubha says, I agree with Dr. Adil. Members of my family have been watching Pakistani women dramas, and the pitiful plight of women isn't a real indicator. Correct, correct. Of the new age. I mean, people are saying, yes, yes, good to hear this. When do we see you in Delhi, Sabah? I know the scenes are not good right now, but let's assume when the scenes do get better, and they would, God's grace, when do we see you in Delhi? When are we sitting for a cup of coffee is what actually I want to
Tanya,
know.
you know, after this Instagram live could happen with all the trials and tribulations, I'm not losing hope. So, you know, and really, whilst I love the fact that I'm able to do this digitally, and, you know, that's one of the real pluses that has happened, you know, with the online stuff, but nothing beats the ability to be doing this with you, maybe a few of, you know, the people you know, just kind of in this intimate environment with that palpable physical energy. And
Yes.
you know, I'm optimistic, Tanya. You know, my father always taught us to see the glass half full, and he used to say, you know, mayusi guna hai. So I feel like I'm going to be very hopeful about that and say, you know, I really hope there will be a time where we can do this face to face with a cup of chai in front of us and talking about so many things that I feel like I really, like you said in the middle of the conversation, we bleed the same way, we cry the same way, we celebrate the same way, we sing the same way. And what joy it would lend to be doing this in Delhi with you and Kunal and all these wonderful people who have been with us. Like, you know, I'm not just saying this, Tanya, ek kehne ki cheez hoti hai that, oh, she says this in every talk she's a part of, but these 16 people who are live with us right now, 17, I just feel like, you know, it's late in India, so to speak, but it feels so intimate. And I feel like I'm sitting in a living room with these 17 people, you know, and having this conversation. And it's just really warmed my heart.
I know. Thank you everyone for joining us. I mean, we started trying from 10 o'clock, 10:45. Finally, we went live. It's 11:30. We can go on for 2 more hours, but looking at the constraints we have, right? Yes, everybody. Thank you, Kritika. Yes, Atre. I think, Asaba, you already have a list of people wanting to do that in person, chai and coffee with you. Right?
I'm
So I'm
so
sure once you
excited.
come
I'm
in,
so excited.
yeah.
And yes, Kunal, Sabine is actually at NYU. You're absolutely right. She did. And, you know, Tanya's invitation is something I am going to jump on along with her followers. So I'm going to be that freeloader guest in Delhi at some point, inshallah.
You will be our guest, Sabha. You will be our guest. We'd love to host you. Delhi is known for its food and hospitality, and we'll show you, we'll prove it to you. Right?
You know, Tanya, from your very first email, and this is going to sound like a mutual admiration club to your viewers, But from the tone of Kunal and your conversation with me, even through message, you can just tell the warmth and the sincerity and just how invested you were. I wouldn't doubt the hospitality for a second, and I'm actually desperate to be there. And in the book, I chose Lahore and Delhi deliberately, and there's a line there where Asher says, I never realized I crossed the bridge until I
Yeah.
saw these wires hanging low, because Lahore and Delhi are so similar. So
Yes.
absolutely.
Great, great, great. Any parting words, Sabah, before we say goodbye to everyone?
I want to say that Skyfall, to me as a storyteller, it's an invitation to my readers to dance, to come for a walk. That's what I see it as. And above anything, to imagine love in a time of hate. And, going back, like it's just the soul of a Sufi love song. And I think the fact that I can have these wonderful, filled with warmth and sincerity conversations with people in India gives me so much hope. And that's what I want to leave you with. And I hope we're on to better times, because Skyfall is very much about the movement from darkness to light. And I hope that's the path we're on. Thank you, Tanya and Kunal, for doing this.
My pleasure. And I'll give my concluding remark. This book is about all of us. You'll find your traits somewhere, maybe on a cozy winter evening when Rania says something and you'll be like, oh my God, this is what I say. Or uh, when Marzi, I mean, I'm just naming the characters because I know them by heart because I've read, the book. When she talks about freedom, you'll have tears in your eyes and you'll be like, oh my God, in this age, somebody has to talk about freedom in this sense. Is this very real? But the fact is, it is more than what you can. It is the reality. So please, I am saying this because I've loved the book. It is coming from my own personal recommendation. If you are a fan of reading good English, pick up Skyfall. The story will move you. It'll take you from Lahore to New Delhi to America. And you'll see something that will connect with you instantly and deeply, right? With this, I thank you so much, for being here today. Like you rightly said, it's like as if we're sitting in our drawing rooms and doing this conversation, right? So thank you, everyone, and we're going to see you soon with another live someday, sometime. And good night to everybody in UAE and in India. Bye,
Good
Sabah.
night. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good night. Good night.